45. Brown, 45. Hot, 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 hot.
You are listening to Any Given Sunday Australia. Yes, hello and welcome to the Any Given Sunday Australia podcast, the number one podcast in 3 households, 1 studio, and I believe the Gridiron Australia headquarters. We have joining us today our usual TC24 at Tim Carty AGSAU. How are you, mate?
Good morning, Tommy, or good afternoon even. Going really well.
That's good, mate. And our work experience kid turned pro, I forgot what you were called there for a second, at Danny Webb AGSAU. How are you, mate?
Only been doing this for a year, TMac. Yeah. You forgot who I am. That's
we're into season 2, and I've forgotten what your title was. But the big man that we do have joining us, I've proclaimed him as the busiest man in Australia. He's the CEO of Gridiron Australia, Mr. Wade Kelly. How are you, mate?
Yes, good, Tommy. Very good to be here again. Love this podcast. Timmy doesn't know if it's morning or afternoon, and Danny's finally graduated from an intern after a year. It's good.
I don't think he has graduated. He's still the intern, but I just forget his name. He's one of the small people that gets around.
It's a busy office. It's easy to do.
It is.
We have so many people coming in and out all the time. The co-hosts change every week, you know.
Yeah, it is. And my brain is full on scrambled, so it's probably fair enough by me. But I think we can call you a genuine friend of the show now, Wade. We talk too regularly, which is a good thing. But I'm sure you've heard our podcast before, so we just want to start with 3 people that you'd like. No. We know that you'd have the 3 people that are here, obviously, for dinner, so we don't need to answer that question.
Obviously, you 3 definitely. But if I go to 4th, I'd probably add Aaron Rodgers. It's a big year for us.
Anyway, let's move on from.
Might as well start with the Jets chat. You know it's going to come.
Yeah, all right. Let's get it out of the way. All right, mate. Fluff your feathers. How are you going to go this year?
I'm very disappointed if we didn't make the playoffs. You know, they've been rabbiting on Woody Johnson and Joe Douglas and Coach Saylor about we were only missing a quarterback last year and we won our 7. So, yeah, the job's on the line, I think, this year. And we added the greatest quarterback of all time, apparently, according to a lot of people. And he looks motivated. He's in his at OTs, which is sensational. And he's at every event in New York City and New Jersey that's going on at the moment. So he's in. He's all in.
The shit thing is he actually looks happy, which is crap.
How'd you feel about him pulling up a little bit ginger after one of
the I mean, that was a red flag, wasn't it? Like, you think, oh, come on, just get through at least the first week, and his calf goes in the first. You know, guys are middle-aged like me and him. We have these ailments. You know, they hit us. So I think he'll be all right, and I think he'll be back on the field pretty soon.
It is the old man injury though, so you got to be careful. Don't go too hard too early, Rod.
Exactly. He needs to save himself at the start of the season.
Well, and you weren't
the end of the season as well.
No, that's right. The end of the season. We copped a lot of flack on our Twitter from Jets fans. You weren't one of those fans that were getting on there absolutely blasting us, were you?
No, I'd never do that. I'm a very positive man, particularly on social media. Yeah.
You sure you weren't using a burner account?
That's got the burner account.
Yeah. Jets fan 1, 2, 3, 4. That hit me hard, man.
I don't have the mental capacity to have any sort of burner account.
Yeah, all the time. You're way too busy of a man. But we do have you on here for a very special reason. You've got an announcement that has come out of the afternoon of the 5th. But I'll throw it to you, mate, and you can make the announcement semi-live on here.
Yeah, great. So we've got, it's something we've been working on for a while. It's a pretty special project. It's focused on tackle football. Obviously, you know, we chatted before about we're the national governing body for 2 sports, or 2 different sports that are related, and that's tackle football and flag football. And we've got a huge event coming up for our tackle football, and it's the National High School Combine Tour. We're going to go around Australia with some pretty special guests. In each state, and we're looking to search for talent, whether that's within GA, within our existing juniors, or looking at other juniors and getting them on our pathways. It's obviously well known, and it's becoming even more well known just how good the pathways are through Gridiron Australia into the US in particular, into the college system, into the NFL. And now it's into high school. So there's a lot of US high schools that are really interested in Australian talent. So we've managed to get 3 special guests to start with, and that might get added to before we even kick off in July. But we've got Jesse Williams, obviously former Alabama star and Seahawks star, that does a lot of work with us, and it's just been fantastic for Gridiron Australia and promoting the sport down here. He's so passionate about it, and obviously he's a huge draw card for us. Managed to get Russell Hewitt from the NFL Academy, which is a huge get. Russell's going to be joining us for the whole tour. He's currently in the States doing all the camps around the universities. I know Russell's hugely excited about the talent down here. So he'll be coming down with us and be coaching in those camps and looking out for talent as well. And then we've also got Coach Ray Stowers from LAC in Utah. Now, for those that don't know, LAC in Utah is the state championships of the Utah, the high school, last year. And they just had 17 guys get picked up into college scholarships in the US. They're a real dominant force now, and a lot of particularly the California schools, the Pac-12 schools, are looking at LAC for the next generation through. He's going to join us on the tour, help us do a lot of coaching as well, alongside Jesse and Russ, and then obviously be keeping his eye on the talent that's coming out of Australia as well. So yeah, it's a huge event. We've been working on it for a long time. We've got some good partners on board, and we're really excited about it.
You mentioned that it is nationwide. Is it literally to every state that we've got?
Yeah, the 2 that missed out this year are Northern Territory and Tasmania, and that's just logistics for this year. And obviously this is a huge undertaking. We're going from Brisbane down into Melbourne, up into Canberra, across to Sydney. We'll do 2 one in Western Sydney, one on the eastern coast of Sydney, and then across to Adelaide and Perth. And we're doing it in the school holidays, and these are targeted at high school age combines, so they're ages 13 to 19. So it's in school holidays. It's 2 weeks. It's back to back. It's pretty brutal for the coaches. I'll be on the tour as well, so it's going to be pretty brutal for me. But we're really excited. Next year, season 2, we would plan to go to more regional areas on top of the existing ones we've already got, as well as into the Northern Territory and Tasmania. There's so much talent, whether they're playing in Gridiron Australia at the moment, or they're playing basketball, or AFL, or rugby league, or rugby union, soccer, martial arts, that we want to open up this pathway for all of them and give them a real chance to, chase their dreams, just like Jesse did when he went from Brisbane into JUCO into Alabama, 2-time national champion, into a Super Bowl winner with the Seahawks.
And with these open combines, can anyone rock up and participate?
Yeah, for sure. There'll be a registration system, so they just go online, register for it. It's open for everyone. There's no discrimination here. We want everyone that wants to come along and learn from these coaches first and foremost, and then they can test themselves. So they get combine testing. We partner up with a fantastic company in Athletes Authority, who run all our testing for us, and we've also partnered with Lumen Sports and Volt Equipment, who will provide some software and some hardware for us to help us run those tests. So it's open up to everyone. We want everyone there that can get there and fancies having a go at that. We want as many people there as possible.
And are we talking from any, like you mentioned, all the sporting backgrounds? Do you need to have understanding of American football? No,
absolutely not. A big draw card for this is you don't need any experience in football. It's athletes that we're trying to introduce to the game, and then we're trying to show off. We're trying to show off that talent we've got down here in all the different sports to people that are interested, and that is the US colleges, the US high schools, even the NFL, and that's why these guys are down there. So it's a really unique and it's a really great opportunity. There's historically, there's probably been a question as, we actually play Gridiron in Australia and you can actually get on a pathway here, and how do I get to the States? I ran into a prominent NRL player the other day that's a prominent player in the NRL and representative in rugby league in the biggest arenas, and he asked me, how do you get onto the pathways of NFL, or how do you get onto college system pathways? And he wishes stuff like this was around when he was in high school. So it's open for everyone, and we're really keen to see what sort of athletes can transition across.
Yeah, I think that's huge, and like particularly for the guys in the other sports, just to, yeah, like you said, give them a little peek, show them this is the way you go, this is potential. They might not have even thought of it before, but just to have that, I think, yeah, it's really exciting. So what's the day at each stop going to kind of look like? Will it be a bit of coaching in the morning and then the testing in the arvo, or sort of what do you got planned there?
Yeah, so it really depends on the numbers, but the general flow of the day is you'll spend half the day with a testing guy. So you'll work with Athletes Authority. They're getting tested, and it's mimics the NFL Combine. Obviously, we're not going to put bench press in it because it becomes logistically a little bit too hard, and particularly with high school age students, it's not a huge requisite for us. But it'll be based on the NFL Combine. So you'll get your scores in comparison to the guys that are in college trying to break it into the NFL, which would be really interesting in itself. And all that data will be supplied for you digitally. You'll be able to look at it and you'll be able to compare yourself. What are the guys that got picked up by the NFL teams last year? What did they score and where do I score compared to that? So things like 40-yard dash, the standing long jump, the vertical jump, the 3-cone drill, they'll all be included. It's exactly the same. And then they'll have a bit of break and then they'll be out in the field working on some skills with the coaches. Working on some one-on-one battles and working on some group battles. So they'll get a real taste of the sport across there, and they'll get a real taste of where they fit and how they fit into the sport, what position, etc. they fit in, how they compare up to everyone else.
So as a 31-year-old high school student that I am, what's the end goal? What can I see at the end of these combines that I could get out of this?
I mean, first of all, it's just development, right? So you're going to get coached by some of the best coaches in the world in American football, which is fantastic. You're going to get your results, which is fantastic. You will get what we are doing is pretty exciting off the back of these combines, which is an addition to it, is we will then invite what the coaches select as their top 10 from each state. And obviously with Western Sydney and Sydney having 2 in the state, there'll be 2 groups coming from those. The top 10 will be invited to a final in January. And then off the back of that, once they go through another round of combine testing and skill sessions and stuff like that, again, they get to learn off the best coaches, and there'll be some other guest coaches that'll be there for the final, which should be a huge event as well. We'll then pick a top 10 to go on a trip of a lifetime to the US, where they'll spend some time with some NFL clubs. They'll spend some time with some really prominent college clubs, of which you can probably guess which they'll be, and they'll get to experience some high school stuff as well. And it'll just be a really unique experience where they'll get a real up-close personal taste of what the NFL looks like and what does college football look like and what does high school football look like. And we're really excited about that. There'll be more and more details that come out about that later on.
Yeah, you mentioned that this is literally up to date. You've been even up to this morning still working out the US trip, so it's hot off the press, this kind of stuff. Do you want to go through some of the partners that we do you yourself have involved in the days? Yeah,
sure. And as we announce this, there'll be more and more that we can announce and join us. This is a huge event. It's a really exciting event, and the reaction we've got from major partners to get on board has been fantastic, and nothing short of phenomenal. The keenness to get involved in it. Obviously, you guys on board, fantastic. Any Given Sunday podcast, come and support us. It's great for us to help work alongside the media to get our story out there. It's a really pivotal part of exposure. Obviously, I've mentioned before on the testing side of it, Athletes Authority. They're a huge brand now in elite performance sport training and rehab. Based in Sydney and in Melbourne, and looking to expand nationally. Lumen Sports is a data software company that a lot of the high-end professional clubs in Australia use. Now it's going into the States, so we'll be able to use that, access that. We've also got AFS, which is a real supporter of Gridiron Australia. They will provide all the medics for the day, which is really important that everyone's safe and treated if anything does happen. I mean, these are non-contact camps, so it won't be a huge issue, but we've got them on board. We've got a lot of major airlines that are interested in joining us, particularly for the US side of it. And then we've got some big hotel chains that want to be part of it as well. And we've also got obviously apparel sponsors that want to come on board. We will partner as well with Super Six, which is running our Western Sydney Combine in conjunction with the Athletes Authority, which is doing a lot of good things out in Western Sydney. And as I said, there'll be more and more that'll be added and announced over the next month before leading into the first one in Brisbane.
That's very exciting. Sounds like we'll be getting you on more and more for a few more announcements, I think. Wade.
Yeah. You know, I'm always up for coming on here as long as we can fit in. Yeah, definitely.
Beautiful. And you've also got things like the Olympics that we're looking forward to in the future. Is this obviously heading towards those kind of things?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, as I said before, you know, tackle football is our core sport, but we're also the governing body of flag football. And we, you know, I think everyone's seen how successful and how big flag football is growing now. So over 20 million people playing, and that's growing year on year, out of control almost. There's so many opportunities coming in flag, building back from the expected Olympic announcement for the LA Games in 2028. That'll come later in the year in October. We've also know that in over 26 states now it's a varsity sport, so there's real opportunity, particularly for the girls, to get full scholarships to the US in college, which is huge, right? To get an education, to get it paid for, come out of uni without any debt. That's a huge lure for a lot of kids. I know it is. It'll be for my kids, definitely. Yeah. So we've been busy, you know, really busy on that side of the sport, working. How do we best capitalize on these opportunities coming, like the Olympics and the varsity sports and the pro leagues that's starting in 2024 in the US? How do we best capitulate that? So, you know, we've been really busy assembling a lot of things. And it's probably too much to go into at the moment, but working back for our Olympics, you know, we've got some really key big hitters in sport, high performance sport on our high performance committee that are working towards how do we plan towards the 2020 Olympics and hopefully even then the 2032 Olympics in Brisbane. With the NFL releasing its players for the 2028 Olympics, if it does in fact become an Olympic sport, you know, we've got to pick an Aussie team that's got to take down a dream team in the men's, and then the women's. Obviously, Mexico is the world champions at the moment. They beat the US last year. We think we've got the athletes to take down a gold medal in that as well. Like when you compare flag football to any other sport, the closest comparison that we see is AFL and netball and across of that. You know, that's with throwing a bit of rugby league and rugby union, touch football and Oztag, then that's what makes up the game. And our athletes service those sports so well. So, and we're going to give them the opportunity to go to the Olympics. And if you're in the men's side, you play against a dream team. And you could also, hey, if you're playing for the Australian team, you're probably a fair chance to get picked up for those pro leagues in America too. And if you're playing for the Australian teams, you're a fair chance of getting picked up for a college scholarship as well. Is Tommy gone?
Yeah, Tom's just smoke bombed. No, which is an absolute huge opportunity. Like, obviously, flag becoming bigger, it's just going to become better and better for Australian athletes, especially with women's sport in Australia, like the Women's Rugby League and the AFLW being such big and growing sports. It's added another one there where people can go over to the States and, like you said, get a free education. Every single person, every single young athlete that we've spoken to, they're like, education's number one, and then playing American football's kind of number two or on par, but they always speak about their education being so high. So to get a free ticket to be able to do that would be an incredible experience.
Yeah, and there's not many other sports, right? So if you look at sports around the globe, and particularly here in Australia, what sport offers you a chance to get a free education in a US college, play in a pro league, and go to the Olympics? It's not. There's not a lot of sports out there that can offer that, and so we're excited about that, right? So it's our job now to build the pathways and build the infrastructure around that. That leads into that. So having junior competitions, working with the Australian Sports Commission to put flag football on the sporting schools list, having junior competitions at club level, into state level, into national level, and developing the players there. You know, if you go into the US colleges, you're probably going to get picked up in high school stages. So it's having meaningful competition around those age groups, and our junior representative stuff that is going to put you on the radar of those colleges, trying to pick players up, recruit players. And then it's actually looking at our seniors, like building on what we've got now. You know, if you look at 2028, it's only, you know, it's 5 years away. So at what age you look at the NFL boys, they're probably going to be around 28 in that. So is that the best age to be peaking at the Olympics? And our high performance team will work on that. You know, they'll look at what it's going to take to win those gold medals and what age groups. And then, you know, if it is 28, then those guys now, 22, 23, So senior leagues are really important to us, and we'll work a lot on university leagues and introduce flag into a lot of universities around the country. And the aim is to get into the university games, and that become, a real feeder for our national teams. We've also got the option too of our guys that are playing in the US now in colleges, to draft them in as well. That'll be another way to get in the Australian team. If you're playing college in the US, there's no reason why you can't also represent Australia. So it's really exciting. They've already had contact from some guys in US colleges to say, how do I get involved? We've got our open national combines for flag starting off on June 17th, so in 2 weeks, where you can go down to your own state tryouts and try out there, and the footies will get fed up and fed through to the Australian coaches and selection committees. And then we've got a really exciting tournament coming up, hosted by Gridiron New South Wales, are hosting the Kiwis on late July, on the last weekend of July, here in Sydney, and just other states. Some states around Australia will be sending teams for those as well, for those games as well. So we also then have the first Australian international games for flag football in October, and that's the Intercontinental Cup. And the prediction is that'll be the first international competition for flag football after the Olympic announcement, after we know 100% it is. So there'll be a lot of media attention about that, and that'll be held in Malaysia. I was on with the IFAF, the International Federation of American Football, on Friday night, and all the Asian countries that are going to that, as well as New Zealand, getting the details. That's a really exciting tournament. We'll head up there a week leading into that for camp, and then we'll play that series. It's important for us that we perform really well in that series, and that'll be the first time that Australia's ever had a flag football team in men's or in women's, and we're sending 2 squads there, and we want to send the strongest squads we possibly can to that tournament. It's important that we get some results under our belts leading into the next funding round from the Australian Institute of Sport, or Australian Sports Commission, leading into the 28 Olympics. It's important that we are well established before those decisions are made at the conclusion of Paris. So, yeah, it's a huge year for flag football. And realistically, we're going from 0 to 1,000. There is existing leagues around the country. There's some phenomenal leagues up in Brisbane, Melbourne, across in Perth. Urban Rec runs some great competitions here in Sydney, and it's about bringing all those together so that we can, share ideas, share coaching, share best practices across those sports, and then start to really nail those pathways. Apart from that, it's a great way to get involved in the sport. It's low entry barriers. You don't need equipment. You just need your team kit, some flags, a ball. It's small field, so it's only on a third the size of a normal rugby pitch or normal American football pitch. So you don't need a lot of resources. You don't need a lot of room. You don't need goalposts, and it's open to everyone. It's a real social thing. And we see now that, so many kids are into the NFL, and this is a perfect way for them to get introduced. It's 5v5, whether you're playing in the AFC, NFC Championship now, or the Pro Bowl week game. It's flag football, 5v5. You play in the Olympics, it's 5v5. When we roll out the sporting school programs in 2024, it's 5v5. So it's just a great game to get involved.
And how confident are we that this announcement for the 2028 Olympics is coming?
Yeah, I imagine there's a few sports that are really confident. We've been told, the word from the IFAF, and which is the International Federation of American Football, who's been working on this for a long time in conjunction with the NFL, that they've ticked I think it's 48 boxes that you have to tick before you're allowed to even be in the final consideration from it. All reports are it's very positive. The feedback from the Olympic Committee is really positive. And so there's no reason for us to think no. Being in California, it's that being a national game, for America, it's got the most commercial success in America. It's a pretty big argument. It'd have to be a pretty big argument to not allow it to come into the Olympics, I think. So yeah, we're pretty confident that that's going to happen.
It seems like a no-brainer, like commercial-wise. Getting back to the high school combine and the announcement and stuff. So moving forward and looking into the future, like you're saying, you're going to have a final in the top 10, and you guys are going to take them over to the States, do a bit of a tour. get them exposure to their schools and things. In the future, do you hope to see that like American colleges and things will start to recognise this, and it's a good, like, you've packaged up the best Australian talent, and they'll be able to look at our combines in the future and come and hopefully get some guys on the pathway to playing college football over there? Is that kind of the hope for the future of the combines?
100%. That we want to be able to provide those pathways for the guys that really want to have aspirations. That's our pathway, right? So we don't have a senior national professional competition here. We don't have a professional college competition here. So we feed into the US college system. Obviously, we have our senior leagues here, which are all fantastic right around Australia. But for the guys that want to go turn pro, that's our opportunity to do that. But guys that want to get scholarships to the US colleges, that's what we want to do. And we have the means and the contacts and the resources to be able to provide that for them. And that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that it's an opportunity for everyone to be involved in it. So yeah, and this will just be the first year. This will be an annual thing that we want to that we put on through Gridiron Australia, and we just hope it gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
And if there's already some successful like junior players, is high school scholarships, or how does that process work? Like, let's drop it down one step below college.
Yeah.
And how would that process work?
Yeah, for sure. It's the same system. US high schools are looking for talent in Australia. And it's already happening. There were 7 guys from one club in Melbourne this year, for instance, that have already gone on into the US high school systems just this year. And so Australia and the Pacific is becoming a real hotbed of talent, and it's caught like wildfire. So they are looking. At the moment, there's no formal way to look, right? So there's no formal way from Gridiron Australia, and we just want to make sure that we're providing that formal platform for them to go over there. Yeah. So look, there's probably 2 things I can say to that as well. In addition, is that it's a lot easier for them when the Aussie talented kids get over there earlier. They get more chance to work in their systems and get really used to American football their way and teach them their habits. And then, so they're looking for them to come over a little bit younger than the traditional. We've all seen what happens when you drop a Jared Hayne or a Valentine Holmes into the NFL. It's tough. It's tough. You're competing against guys that have played this game for a long time. So the earlier you can get involved in the game, the better. And the US guys realize that. There is opportunities, obviously, with the IPP program, the NFL, to go in at a later date, when you're older, and that's great, and that's a great opportunity for guys at that age still, and we'll continue to support that as best we can. But we're also then opening up for a lot younger guys to go in. And the other thing I'll say is, this is an annual thing, right? So if you're at these combines and you don't get selected in that top 10, it's a great chance to develop as a trade. Go play a season. Start the tackle season for Gridiron later in the year, in September, October, kicking off in your state. Put yourself in the best position when you come back next year to have another go at it. It's not a one-off, one and done thing. This is an annual thing that we'll be providing, and we really want to provide it for everyone in the game.
No, and the other great thing is they get the exposure to maybe what the expectations are, and like you said, they can go away for the year, work on it, and come back and have another crack.
Yeah, exactly. Like with those combined testing results and then the on-skills testing result, you'll be able to see yourself, and the feedback from the coach is exactly right. You'll be able to know exactly where you stand. And if you've got aspirations to go over there, then this is the perfect opportunity to do that.
Yeah, I think we've got 3 already lined up for our flag football team. So I look forward to the applications coming in to be joining the Any Given Sunday flag football. But I think we kind of glossed over, and I don't really want to gloss over the fact that the coaches that you're going to have, the likes of, or even athletic authority over there, Jesse Williams, having Russ Hewitt there, with you, like there's some huge names. And for those that don't realise, having Jesse Williams there, who's won a Super Bowl, it'd be like going to an AFL camp and having, Luke Hodge, who's just sitting there, giving you feedback live. Like, I think it's huge, the fact that we're going to have these guys at every combine over the 2-week period.
Yeah, it's fantastic. We're really lucky that these guys are really supportive of us and really supportive of giving kids a go, giving kids a chance, and they want to put back into the game. So yeah, it's great. Russell Hewitt from the NFL Academy. How good's that? You've got him teaching you, coaching you, and then assessing you and seeing where you're at and giving you tips, mentoring you. It's fantastic. And then you got Jesse, obviously, is the only Super Bowl winner Australia's ever produced. So it's like having the only ever AFL guy that's ever won a grand final, rugby league guys ever won a grand final. He's right there. You know, you can talk to him, you can ask him questions. He knows everything. He's so passionate about helping kids. You know, he's already helped a load of kids get over there and get settled. I know a lot of the guys in the US lean on him that have gone over there from Australia. And then, obviously we want to add, as this gets bigger and bigger, we want to add more and more of those coaches into these combines. Yeah, for sure.
Sorry, I just had a terrible thought. I was like, that's going to be Mason Cox after this year if the Pies win. No.
Going back to America.
This wheels were spinning in my head there.
Nice. You can see by pretty much what you've gone through is why you are the busiest man in Australia, and we do appreciate your time, and we look forward where Melbourne is on is it the 5th?
The 5th, yeah, West the 5th.
Yeah. Over in Croydon, am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, Rangers Field, yep.
Yeah, grouse. I said it before I was there. So we're going to be there on the 5th, speaking with you, with Jesse, with Russ. So we look forward to seeing and catching up with everyone on the 5th. But obviously, what are the dates? If you want to run through the dates of all the combines, and where can people find out more about what they can or where to sign up and things like that?
Yeah, we start kick it off on Monday the 3rd of July, so a month today. We're recording this, and that's in Brisbane. And then the next day we head down to Melbourne, and we'll set up on the Tuesday for the Wednesday combine in Melbourne at Croydon Field, at Rangers Field, and then up into Canberra for Friday the 7th, which is at the Australian Institute of Sport. Western Sydney is on the 8th, which is at Blacktown Sports Park, in conjunction with Super 6 gym out there. And then we're across on Monday the 10th. We kick off the second week in Sydney here at Newington College in Stanmore. And then we're across to Prince Alfred College, the big college down there in Adelaide, on the Wednesday the 12th. And then we finish it up in Perth on the 14th at Trinity College. So some great venues there. It's back to back. It's a big 2 weeks, and it's going to be a phenomenal event.
Well, I was just going to say that. It's going to be a busy 2 weeks for you, Wade. Yeah. Looking forward to a beer at the end of it, I reckon.
Yeah.
Yeah. And where can people find out more about signing up and things like that?
Yeah, so it's obviously all over our socials. It'll get announced this afternoon. All over our socials. All the registration links will be there, and it'll be on our website as well. So there'll be a lot of promotion. You'll see it everywhere in the next month.
Yeah, beautiful. All right, mate. We appreciate you coming on and giving up that precious time that you do have. We look forward to seeing you on the 5th, and I dare say Cardi will shout you a beer at the end of it.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate the support. Great podcast, and thanks for not asking me that question about 3 people for dinner.
Save for next time.
Actually, before you do go, we got to speak about the Jets. How the Packers going to go when we topple you guys in the Super Bowl? To get to the Super Bowl.
But I think playoffs is first, right?
Yeah.
So
we're already in there. Don't worry.
I sent a little of the highlights the other day on a show I was watching of their OTs, and it's going to be a tough year, I think.
Thanks for coming along, mate. It was really.
Anyway.
It's going to be. It could be a long season, but I think you'll be surprised.
Yeah, we never know. If we both make the Super Bowl, we have to go over for it.
Oh, 100%. I'm already squirreling away some dollars that the boys don't know. So, mate, thank you very much.
Cheers, thanks, mate.
Thanks for the support, boys.
See you then.
Bye.